Don't touch my phone, Ava. Then why is your secretary texting, I can't hide this pregnancy much longer? My husband froze. His sister looked away, and I realized everyone at that dinner knew something, except me. I stood there holding his phone while the whole table went silent. That's when I understood this humiliation was only the beginning. My name is Naomi Carter, and I'm 34 years old. I work as a physical therapist at a local rehab clinic. It's not a flashy job, but it's steady, honest work. I spend my days helping people rebuild their strength after surgeries, accidents, and injuries. My patients respect me. They trust me. But outside that clinic, I was just the dependable wife. I was the one who remembered every birthday, hosted every holiday, supported my husband's career without complaint, and kept the peace with his demanding family. I always wanted a stable, honest home because I grew up watching my mother survive one betrayal after another. I promised myself I'd never live like that. I wasn't rich. I wasn't glamorous. I wasn't the loudest person in the room. But I was observant. I was patient. And I was stronger than people assumed. My husband's family treated image like everything. Polished smiles for every photo, perfect responses to every question. Constant talk about reputation and what people would think. I ignored small warning signs because I believed loyalty meant working through hard seasons. I believed marriage was about forgiveness and growth. I believed people could change if you loved them enough. I was wrong. I may not have looked powerful, but I had something they didn't expect. I knew how to stay calm long enough to learn the truth. If you've ever been made to feel too plain, too quiet, or easy to fool, this story is for you. If someone underestimated you because you seemed kind or simple, you'll understand what comes next. Subscribe if you know what it's like to hold a family together while nobody gives you credit. Have you ever been the last person to find out the truth? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your story. Click hype or like if you've ever had to learn the hard way who people really are. It happened at his mother's birthday dinner. The whole family was there. His parents, his sister, her husband, and us. The table was set with expensive wine and too much food. Everyone was laughing, talking about his upcoming promotion at work. He was proud. His mother kept saying how far he'd come, how successful he was, how lucky I was to be married to him. I smiled. I always smiled. Then his phone buzzed on the table. He'd left it face down after snapping at me earlier that week. He had one rule: never touch my phone. He said it constantly, like I was some kind of spy, like I couldn't be trusted. The message lit up the screen. I saw it before he did. It was from Lena, his secretary. The preview read, I can't hide this pregnancy much longer. We need to talk tonight. I felt my stomach drop, looked up. His sister's eyes shifted away. His mother's smile didn't move, but her hand froze on her wine glass. They knew. I could see it. They already knew. My husband grabbed the phone so fast, he nearly knocked over his water. You read my messages? It was right there. That's private. That's work. You don't understand context. Then explain the context. He looked at his mother. She stepped in immediately. Naomi, don't make a scene at the table like an insecure woman. This is not the time or place. I looked around. Nobody defended me. Nobody asked him to explain. I asked one question. How long has this been going on? Silence. His phone rang. The screen showed Lena's name with a contact photo. A smiling woman I'd met twice at company events. He silenced it. But everyone saw. His father cleared his throat and changed the subject. I stood up. I waited for someone to follow me. No one did. I walked out to the parking lot. I sat in my car. I thought maybe he'd come after me. Maybe he'd apologize. Maybe someone would at least pretend to care. Instead, he came out 10 minutes later. He didn't apologize. He leaned against my car door and said the most shocking thing I'd ever heard. "If you're smart, you'll keep this quiet until after my promotion." That's when I started paying attention to everything. I realized I'd been shut out for months. There were work events I wasn't invited to. Weekend retreats where his secretary went, but I didn't. Late-night meetings that always seemed to involve her. His family had been protecting him, not me, him. They called it protecting the family, but what they really meant was protecting his image. At home, he acted normal. He expected dinner. He expected clean clothes. He expected me to listen to him complain about work stress. But when I asked direct questions, he refused to answer. He'd say, "I'm not doing this right now," and walk away. A week later, there was a neighborhood fundraiser, a charity event his company sponsored every year. I went because I always went. I helped organize it the year before. But this time, everything felt different. He introduced me to his coworkers with one cold sentence. "This is my wife, Naomi." Then he turned to Lena and smiled. He asked her about her day. He complimented her dress. He acted like she mattered and I didn't. One of his coworkers asked me, "Do you still work over at the clinic?" The tone was condescending, like my job was small, like I didn't belong in their corporate world. I said yes. He didn't defend me. Later, I overheard him talking to his boss. He said, "She wouldn't understand the pressure I'm under." Like I was a stranger. Like I hadn't supported him for years while he climbed that ladder. His mother showed up at the event too. She pulled me aside and told me I should focus on dignity instead of asking embarrassing questions. She said it like I was the problem. Then came the worst part. He suggested a separation. Not because he felt guilty, not because he wanted to fix things, but because he wanted to protect his image before his promotion review. He said we could take some space. He said it would be better for both of us. But then he added something that made my blood run cold. He reminded me that the apartment lease was in his name, that the car was in his name. He said I should be careful about causing trouble. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a threat. I didn't collapse. I didn't beg. I didn't scream. I started documenting. I saved screenshots. I wrote down dates. I kept a timeline. I started noticing patterns. His family's lies matched too perfectly. His office excuses repeated word for word. Lena's timeline overlapped with several business emergencies he'd claimed. I stopped asking for honesty. I started watching quietly. He thought he'd won because I wasn't exploding in public. But my silence wasn't weakness anymore. It was strategy. What they didn't know was I had a hidden strength they'd mocked for years. My writing. For the last 3 years, I'd been running an anonymous blog. It was about relationship advice, betrayal recovery, and recognizing manipulation. I shared emotional truths, patterns of gaslighting, and strategies for healing. I wrote under a pen name. My husband saw it once and laughed. He called it my little hobby. He said nobody cared about my little posts. But he was wrong. My platform had thousands of followers. I had strong connections with respected editors and women's advocacy networks. I had learned how to organize facts, how to tell hard truths clearly, how to recognize gaslighting language the second I heard it. I'd already saved screenshots, voicemail records, calendar conflicts, messages that exposed a careful pattern of lying. I had a plan they never saw coming, and it didn't require screaming, begging, or chasing him. I began drafting a timeline, not just for revenge, but to protect myself before he rewrote the marriage in public. Then something else happened. Someone from my anonymous online community recognized the company name tied to my husband. She sent me a private message warning me there might be more to the story than just an affair. She'd heard rumors. I realized the real danger wasn't just betrayal. It was narrative control. He was already telling people I was unstable, that I was jealous, that I invaded his privacy. He was building a story where I was the villain. I wasn't going to let that happen. I wasn't alone. I confided in Dr. Evelyn Brooks. She's the director of the clinic where I work. She's older, wiser, and she's seen manipulation before. She refuses to let good people get cornered by liars. I told her everything. She didn't judge me. She didn't tell me to forgive him or work it out. She told me to slow down, to gather facts, to protect my housing, to copy records, to speak to a lawyer before confronting anyone again. She reminded me that calm preparation is stronger than emotional chaos, especially when the other side is counting on you to break first. Through Evelyn, I got connected to a trusted attorney. I also got connected to a professional contact who understood workplace policies about inappropriate relationships between bosses and staff. Meanwhile, my husband's family grew more arrogant. His mother started planning family events without inviting me. His sister posted smiling photos online like nothing was wrong. My husband acted as if the marriage was just waiting for me to quietly disappear. Lena became bolder, too. She sent me a message once. It said I should accept reality like an adult. Evelyn told me their arrogance would make them sloppy. She was right. I kept gathering proof, enough to defend myself publicly, legally, and emotionally. Then my husband made an announcement. There was going to be a company celebration dinner for his expected promotion. He assumed I wouldn't dare show up. I showed up. I dressed with calm confidence, not for revenge, not for drama, just to be present. My husband saw me walk in, and his face went pale. Lena was there. She was standing closer to him than any secretary should. Several coworkers looked uncomfortable. I could tell rumors had already spread. He pulled me aside near the lobby. He hissed at me. "You're embarrassing yourself." I looked him in the eye. "No, I'm ending that tonight." We went back into the event space. I didn't make a scene. I didn't scream. I waited until the right moment. When his boss, the HR representative, his coworkers, and his family were all nearby. Then I spoke. I said I had something important to share. I told them I had documented proof that the affair timeline overlapped with company-sponsored travel, that expense reports listed Lena's presence under misleading categories, that there was a pattern of dishonesty that violated company trust. It wasn't criminal, but it was enough to damage his career. I also read a message, out loud, from his sister. It said, "Just keep Naomi quiet until the promotion goes through." His mother tried to interrupt. His boss raised a hand to stop her. My husband said, "You're twisting things." I pulled out printed timelines, screenshots, dates, everything organized. Then I told them something else. I said I was the anonymous writer behind a well-known betrayal recovery platform. Several people in that room followed it. I didn't say it for fame. I said it so they'd know he never knew who I really was, and that I had already prepared a factual public statement if he lied about me. The HR rep's face changed. The senior staff exchanged looks. Lena started to panic. My husband lost control. He raised his voice. He called me obsessed. I stayed calm. I looked at him and said, "You told me to stay quiet until after your promotion. You should have worried about telling the truth before it cost you everything." The room went silent. His promotion was suspended. The event collapsed into damage control. The family's polished image cracked in front of the very people they wanted to impress. I walked out, not as the humiliated wife, but as the one who finally named the truth in public. I moved out on my own terms. I had legal guidance already in place. I protected my savings, my records, and my peace. My husband faced professional fallout. His family couldn't pretend I was just jealous or unstable anymore. Lena was left to deal with the reality of a man who lied to everyone, not just his wife. My anonymous platform grew after I chose to tell my story carefully. I focused on truth, boundaries, and recovery, not bitterness. Betrayal didn't destroy me. It introduced me to the version of myself that no longer begs for scraps of respect. The moment they thought I was weakest was the moment I finally saw my own power clearly. If someone ever tried to humiliate you in public while hiding their own betrayal, you know how deep that pain goes. Subscribe and share your story in the comments if you were the last one to find out the truth in your own relationship or family. This is for everyone who was called dramatic just for noticing what was real. Did this story hit home? Let me know by liking the video and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Help this story find others who felt the same way. Your support makes a huge difference.